Good morning. My name is Shannon Echeverry, and I'm the director of the Turner Senior Wellness Program. And we are a education, health, and learning program for older adults in the community. We are affiliated with the University of Michigan Health with the Department of Community Health Services. And our programs are located at the Turner Senior Resource Center, which is at the 2401 Plymouth Road near North Campus here in Ann Arbor. And we also have programs throughout the county and programs such as this that are virtual. So I'm going to put our website in the chat if you are interested in finding out more about our many programs. And then I'm going to pass it over to Taylor Fishman. She's going to be doing our presentation today, talking about supporting a loved one with cancer, and I'll pass it off to her. So just some housekeeping things before we get to that. If anyone has questions, you may put them in the Q&A. And please, share this with anybody that you think may benefit from this information. So I will pass it on over to Taylor.
Thanks so much, Shannon. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Taylor Fishman. I'm the program director at the Cancer Support Community Greater Ann Arbor. I'm also an oncology social worker, and today I'll be discussing ways to support a loved one with cancer. Before we get started, I just wanted to share that my contact information is listed here on this first slide, and I'll include it again at the end of the presentation. I am more than happy to talk one-on-one if you find that this content resonates with you as a caregiver, or if you're looking for more support or just want to learn more about our programs. I will share some more information about the cancer support community at the end. But for any of you that are unfamiliar with our organization, we offer free support programs to cancer patients and their loved ones, and I'm more than happy to get you connected with the support that you need. So for the agenda today, we'll start with briefly just going over some of the statistics, recognizing the emotional impact of cancer and caregiving, the different roles that caregivers might have, some effective communication, self-care. We'll go over some resources, and then I'm happy to take some questions. So as we talk about supporting a loved one with cancer, it's important to pause and acknowledge just how many lives are touched by this disease. The statistics surrounding cancer can help validate your lived experience as a caregiver, showing that you're not alone on this journey. So let's look at some of these numbers here. Currently, there are 18.6 million cancer survivors in the United States. This is a huge number of people that are currently in active treatment or have been, many with the support and care from their loved ones, just like you. This is not just an isolated issue. It's a shared experience for millions and millions of people. In Michigan alone, there will be over 64,000 new cases diagnosed this year. And across the country, there'll be more than 2 million new cancer diagnoses in 2025. That's over 2 million new families and caregivers and loved ones stepping into this journey that you might already be on. What's even more important are people are living longer with cancer. A lot of these diagnoses are being treated and seen as a chronic illness, something that people can manage for years and years, sometimes decades, with the right treatment, especially with advancements in clinical trials. This means that the role of caregivers is just as vital over the long term, and the ways that you might be supporting a loved one can change over time. And in recent reports, it indicates that 41% of all people will be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their lives. When we look at these numbers, it is very clear that cancer touches so many of us in some ways, whether you're directly affected by a diagnosis, a patient, a survivor, or you're offering support to someone, you are part of a much larger community. So next we'll look at recognizing the emotional impact of cancer and caregiving. For many of you, either on the call or maybe watching the recording, you may be currently supporting a loved one. So a lot of these emotions we will discuss might validate or resonate with your very much lived experience. I think it's important to acknowledge that all emotional responses are completely valid and often occur at different times or maybe simultaneously. There's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to coping and feeling the emotional impact of a loved one's cancer diagnosis. So I just wanted to take some time to discuss some of the common emotional and psychological responses that you might often feel. So to start, one of the most immediate is shock and denial. This is often the first emotional response or reaction when hearing of a loved one's cancer diagnosis. You might struggle to process the news. You may even experience a sense of disbelief. How could this be happening to my loved one? Why did this happen? A lot of feelings of denial can also emerge and be a common way for loved ones and patients to cope with the initial shock. Anxiety and fear are often very common. It's normal to feel a sense of immense worry, not just about your loved one's health, but about the road ahead. The unknowns can be really overwhelming. There's questions about treatment, what the future looks like, how life might shift. A lot of these thoughts can fill the mind. These feelings of anxiety are completely normal and one of the biggest emotions experienced by almost all caregivers. And it's important to acknowledge that it is a natural response to the uncertainty of a really difficult time. Some of you might also feel maybe stressed or burnt out at times. Caring for a loved one can be really meaningful, but it's also natural to feel worn down. Between medical appointments, scheduling treatments, the emotional energy you pour into supporting someone you love, it's easy to put yourself or your own needs on hold. And over time, this can lead to, physically, emotional, or mental fatigue. You might feel like you're sort of always on, can't take a break, but please know you're not alone in these feelings. And these feelings do not mean that you're failing as a support person. These can also be a gentle reminder to sort of pause and lean on outside sources of support and be a reminder to take care of yourself. It's important to take time to recharge, not only for your own well-being, but taking the time makes you a better caregiver and support person. Next is guilt and confusion. It's not unusual for caregivers to experience moments of guilt and confusion. You might find yourself wondering if you're doing enough for the people that you love or wishing you could somehow change the situation. These thoughts often are rooted in a place of deep love and compassion, not from any shortcoming, and are really valid responses. It's also natural to feel sort of alone in your experience. The emotional and physical demands of caregiving can be really heavy, and it might feel like maybe your friends or other family members don't quite understand what you're going through. You might find yourself stepping back from certain activities that you once enjoyed simply because you don't have the physical and emotional energy to pour into them. These moments are also a good reminder that you don't have to go through this alone. Um, Reaching out to a trusted friend, more family members, a support group, it's a really comforting reminder that people are caring for you too and want to care for you too as a caregiver. I often have a saying, caregivers need caregivers. We all need love and support in different ways. And despite any journey that you're on, we all need support. And if you're having feelings of isolation, don't be afraid to reach out. You can't pour from an empty cup. So grief might feel like a really obvious response, but I always think it's important to note that grief doesn't always come when a loved one passes away. Caregivers and loved ones might experience anticipatory grief, grieving the person they once knew before a cancer diagnosis entered the family unit. They might mourn the loss of a future that they once envisioned or a life that they once shared that has sort of been uprooted and changed. This type of grief can sometimes be overlooked, but it's just as valid as any other. And lastly is hope. Despite some of these really heavy emotional responses we previously discussed, hope is a really powerful emotion that can help loved ones during a really difficult time. And it can come in big and small ways. You might be hopeful that, treatment will work really well, your loved one will feel well enough to continue with activities that provide some normalcy. Um, or it could be small. I'm hopeful that my loved one is going to have a really good day today with minimal side effects. We're going to spend good quality time together. But no matter how big or small the hope is, it's important to keep that alive. So now moving on to some family impact. Caring for a loved one with cancer often brings significant changes to family dynamics, family life, relationships. Daily routines might need to be adjusted to accommodate medical appointments, treatments, new care needs. And this can happen really quickly. Roles within the family often shift, with your loved ones taking on new responsibilities that maybe once the person with a cancer diagnosis previously took on. Finances might be impacted in different ways. There are medical expenses. Sometimes caregivers need to reduce work hours or have a change in employment completely. There's insurance changes. Living arrangements can also change depending on the diagnosis and treatment and what the physical needs are. During these times of change and uncertainty, it's really crucial to be flexible and adapt, communicate often, and seek help when necessary. These changes can be really challenging and often happen really quickly, but they can also be a moment to bring a family unit closer together when you're providing that support to one another during a really difficult time. And it's important to note that every family will experience these changes differently. There is no one right way to handle them. You'll find a rhythm and pattern of change that works for you and your loved one. So next, I just want to take a moment to recognize the impact on the patient. If you're caring for a loved one with cancer, you might already be familiar with many of these side effects from treatment. I've included this slide just to acknowledge some of these changes, both physical and emotional. You might have noticed several of these happening with your loved one. Chronic pain, fatigue, emotional distress, hair loss. All of these things can be really hard to witness, especially when we're watching this happen to someone we love. And it's natural for, these changes to affect your emotional well-being. So now I want to talk about some of the different roles of caregivers. I've used this term several times throughout the presentation already, but caregivers are just simply those who provide support to others that are not able to fully care for themselves. We often refer to caregivers as support people as well. And you might have a big or small responsibility in your role as a caregiver. And it can kind of be classified into three different categories: practical caregiving, emotional caregiving, and physical. You might find that you do all of these things or some of these things for a loved one. You might share these responsibilities with others, but any type of support you provide is just as meaningful and impactful. So let's start with the practical role. This is a more hands-on aspect of the role. It involves day-to-day activities that directly support your loved one's treatment and well-being. So as a caregiver, you might be responsible for scheduling and attending doctor's appointments, keeping track of medications, ensuring treatments are administered at certain times, managing medical records. You might also be coordinating with the healthcare team and providers often, or you might have to understand the treatment plan and keep up with follow-up care. Additionally, a lot of these caregivers often step into the role of caring for household tasks, cooking, cleaning, doing the shopping, helping with daily routines. These are all essential responsibilities for maintaining a sense of normalcy in the home, especially when the patient might not have, the energy or capability to perform these tasks they once did. A lot of these duties require a lot of organization, attention to detail, managing your time differently. It's really easy for caregivers to become overwhelmed by these loads. So it's important to stay organized, communicate what your needs are to other family members and friends who might be able to share some of these responsibilities. Next is the emotional role, which can often feel just as demanding, if not more so, depending on the situation. And sometimes you're offering both practical and emotional support. As a caregiver, you're often the person your loved one turns to for comfort and reassurance. You might be the one that they're crying to, sharing their fears with, expressing their needs, etc. It's a huge emotional responsibility, and it also means you have to be present. You have to actively listen, provide that reassurance. It's important to create a safe space for your loved ones so they're comfortable sharing these emotions with you without judgment or feeling any type of pressure. And sometimes simply just being there and showing up can make a world of a difference. And it's not uncommon for caregivers to feel overwhelmed by the weight of these emotions. You might experience feelings of anxiety, helplessness, guilt, grief, like we discussed earlier. These are all really normal reactions and they come in waves. It's not like you experience one and it goes away after a period of time. Cancer is an experience, a journey, and your emotions will change as time goes on. But it's important to take care of your own emotional health as a support person. Make sure you're finding time to process your own emotional needs. You could journal, you could talk with a counselor, reaching out to a support group. These are all ways that can help balance managing the emotional needs of your loved ones and your own. And lastly is the physical role. It's another really important aspect that comes with short-term and long-term demands. Depending on the type of cancer, stages of treatment, your loved one might need help with just daily living activities, bathing, dressing, eating, moving around the house. We discussed earlier how cancer can cause immense fatigue, weakness, pain. Sometimes there's mobility issues depending on the treatment, which might mean that you're taking on more of a physical role. This could be helping them get out of bed, supporting them while they walk, ensuring they have the necessary medical equipment, comfort, assistance. You might be handling management or post-surgical care, and it can be a very demanding role as well. It's easy to forget to sort of take care of yourself while in this role, but essential that you're balancing your needs, like we mentioned in these other two roles as well. Don't be afraid to ask for help for physical tasks. It's also a common theme of this presentation is don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it can feel sort of abnormal or not like what you're used to, but it's really essential that you're not taking on all of these roles by yourself. You both need and deserve a break while caregiving for your own health, and it's okay to give yourself permission and recognize that you need a little bit of support. So next, I want to move on to some more practical tips while supporting a loved one with cancer. Sometimes with the shock of a diagnosis, we don't even know where to begin or what a loved one might need from us. But I think it's important to provide a space to talk about it. It's one of the most crucial things that we can do while we're supporting a loved one. You don't have to pretend like everything is okay if it's not. Cancer brings up a whole wide range of emotions, like we previously discussed, not only for you as a loved one, but for the patient as well. It's important that they feel safe to express their feelings to you without feeling like they're burdening you uh, or they need to stay positive to protect other people's feelings. It can be incredibly valuable, but also a vulnerable and difficult discussion, but essential to keeping open communication and honesty with one another. Let them talk about their worries, their frustrations, their hopes. It's important to offer a non-judgmental and open space for them to either vent or just process what's currently happening. It can be incredibly, excuse me, essential for their healing. And sometimes when someone you love is going through a cancer treatment, you might feel the pressure to have the right thing to say. But the truth is, you don't need to. None of us have the perfect words. Nothing we say is going to take away from the situation. And it's okay that you express that you don't know what to say, but you're there for them and you care. Sometimes just listening is often the most supportive thing that we can do. It's also important to talk about some normal things. Cancer treatment can sometimes make the world feel really zoomed in and small, maybe even more isolating for the entire family. But keeping up with social engagements, if your loved one and yourself are feeling up to it well enough to do so, that can be really helpful. Or just talking about everyday topics, how work is going, what's happening with mutual friends, um, maybe what movie do you want to see? Something like that can keep a sense of normalcy in the home. It can also take away some of the intensity of a diagnosis, just keeping things sort of on a smaller scale and having simple, enjoyable conversations. Next is physical touch. Even if your loved one is feeling really sick, don't underestimate the power of touch. Hold their hand, give them a gentle hug, or sit close to them. Of course, this is if they want that. Um, Sometimes when someone is really fatigued or going through treatments like chemo and radiation, they can feel really disconnected from their own body. And physical touch can be really reassuring and grounding, not just for the patient, but for you as well. It reminds you that you're in it together, you're not alone, and it can offer comfort in a way that sometimes words can't. Also, don't be afraid to ask exactly what they need. Instead of guessing or assuming, just simply ask directly. Cancer treatment is exhausting, and every day can be different in terms of what the patient is capable or feeling up to doing, whether it's help with a specific task or a listening ear, simply your company. Asking them directly can take the guesswork out of it, takes the pressure off of it, and shows that you respect them and their wishes, and you will be there for them however they need you to be. And going off of that, rather than saying, let me know if you need anything, schedule specific times or specific tasks that you can do for them. You can be direct with the ways that you can support them. So, for example, you can simply ask, can I bring you a meal on Friday? Or if it's a more practical task, can I mow your lawn? Something like that that can be taken care of, that is very specific and also helpful. You can also just schedule time to keep their company and share each other's company. But it's important to be mindful that, the way your loved one might feel physically from day to day can change pretty drastically and be a little unpredictable. So just be flexible in these plans if they need to change. It's also important to be honest about your own feelings. It's very natural to feel sad or overwhelmed, have fear, worry. Don't bottle these emotions up. It's okay to share them with your loved one when appropriate. Being transparent about how you feel can help you feel more connected with them and support them in more ways than one. These conversations should be balanced. It should be an open dialogue. So you can share with how you're feeling with one another. Share your worries and fears. Share your hopes. Share whatever you are feeling, but it should go back and forth. It can be really powerful and healing for both parties. And lastly, encourage your loved one to seek help from other places. It's really important for cancer patients to have access to a broader support network, whether that's through professional counselors, support groups, spiritual care, whatever fits their needs. It's really important that they're not seeking support just in one place. Caregivers can't be everything, and that's okay. We're only human. It's okay to encourage your loved one to reach out for additional support. And having a variety of support channels can be crucial for the emotional and mental well-being of everyone. So next, I just want to touch on some more effective communication. We discussed some ways to communicate with your loved one in the previous slide, but I just want to reiterate how important communication is to continue healthy relationship dynamics. Being honest, even during difficult and vulnerable conversations, is going to be the most important. The more honest conversations you have about your fears and worries and needs, it can build a lot of trust and understanding during an uncertain time. And as things change or maybe progress with treatment, uh, having the practice of being honest with your care person or the patient can make those conversations feel more comfortable. Respect your loved one's wishes, needs, and boundaries. Again, these can change over time during the cancer experience, and part of supporting someone is understanding and respecting how their needs evolve and honoring what they need from you. As a support person, we might have our own ideas of what the patient should be doing or how they should be coping, but it's not up to us to decide. So it's really important to have that respect for them. Silence and active listening are also very powerful. Simply just being present is providing immense support and care. And lastly, don't be afraid to reach out to other places when you need help communicating and don't know where to start. At the cancer support community, we offer many resources and programs. The social work team at your cancer center can provide a lot of support as well. Don't be afraid to utilize them. If you have questions, ask them. Your healthcare team is there to support you and the patient in more ways than one, so don't be afraid to utilize them as a resource or ask for clarification when needed. Ask for help getting pointed in the right direction if it's not something that's part of their expertise. We all work together, so it's important that you're at least communicating with, one source of support so we can get you to the right place. So next I want to talk about tips to avoid burnout. It's important to remember that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is necessary, especially when you're caring for someone you love. Make sure you're taking time to stay connected with your community, whether it's a hobby, a walk with friends, simply just some quiet time. All of these moments can help you recharge. You deserve it, and it is essential to emotional and physical health. Planning for the future can also bring a sense of hope and control, whether it's something small like planning dinner plans, or on a larger scale, planning a vacation for months or years ahead. Making plans can create a sense of normalcy and hope in a really uncertain future. Maintaining independence and balancing your own needs, it can be really difficult, but also very necessary, and it is a practice. It's often one of the biggest struggles with caregivers. I always recommend talking with other caregivers to validate that it's okay to take care of your own needs as well. It's okay to feel frustrated at times, even with the person that we're caring for. In any relationship, being frustrated from time to time with another person is human and normal, cancer aside. So find an outlet where you can express all of these feelings. Learn to say yes to support when it's offered, and don't hesitate to ask for help yourself. Again, whether that is a small physical task, if you need help with emotional support, anything is valid when it comes to what your needs are. So don't be afraid to reach out and accept that you can't do everything and you can't do everything all at once. It's okay to set limits, even when it seems really difficult. And above all, take care of your own health. A healthy caregiver is a stronger caregiver. Remember, you are doing really important work, and taking care of yourself emotionally and physically is part of that work. So moving on to some self-care, you've probably heard this term many times before. It's often something we push to the side in everyday life. It's easy to do so. However, it's really important that it's prioritized, especially when we are prioritizing supporting another person. And it's important to remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. Self-care will look different to everyone. It's simply doing something good for yourself that recharges your batteries. Um, Examples can include taking a daily walk to clear your mind, saying no if you're stretched too thin, setting boundaries with people, asking for help when needed. I always say self-care is a practice, and it's something you have to sort of get better at as time goes on. So take time to think about what does fill your cup. Set aside a short period of time every day to practice some self-care, and eventually it will become a daily habit. It doesn't have to be a large chunk of time. Maybe if you are at work and on your lunch break, you take 5 minutes to, walk around the building a few times just to have some alone time. It can really look any way for anybody. It just depends on what works for you. And you'll be a better caregiver for taking the time for some self-care. So next I included this handout. I know it's really hard to see, but you can just Google this simple handout. It's really helpful. It's a simple caregiving handout developed by the American Society of Clinical Oncology for effective caregiving at home. The front side gives a lot of practical tips for making and supporting a loved one at home, a team approach rather than it all falling on one person, which often happens, and oftentimes it's the spouse. On the back, it offers an action plan with common tasks and empty space to fill in your own unique needs. But then it has spaces next to it to mark who is going to take on what responsibility. So, for example, one category is helping with grocery pickup, and there are options to write names of family members, friends, community resources, professional support. This is a really clear and helpful, simple tool to recognize what your needs are and help you find support to make sure that they're taken care of. There's also a questionnaire for loved ones right underneath that, sort of a check-in on if you need more support as a caregiver or a support person. So, for example, some of these check boxes include sayings like, I don't enjoy things like I used to, I cry a lot, I feel overwhelmed. Um, all of these things could be indicators that you need additional emotional support, which is very normal. It's a good idea to check in with yourself on how you're feeling. It's really common to just sort of suppress those feelings and get through the day. Um, but having emotional support, again, makes you a better caregiver and a stronger caregiver. So next, I just want to share a little bit about the cancer support community and some of the programs that we offer. Our mission is, excuse me, we uplift and strengthen people impacted by cancer by providing support, fostering compassionate communities, and breaking down barriers to care. We are a local community-driven nonprofit. We opened our doors in 2007 as the Wellness Community, and in 2009 we merged with Gilda's Club, if you've heard of their services, to go under one cancer support community umbrella, and we adapted the name. So we offer free programs designed to combat three major stressors of cancer, which are loss of hope, loss of control, and unwanted feelings of aloneness. All of our programs are completely evidence-based. We don't provide any programs that don't have research backing it up to say that these are helpful to patients and their loved ones. They're all professionally facilitated. They are completely free. You can sign in anonymously. You don't need to show any insurance information. You don't need to give us any information. And they're available for the whole family the whole time. Sometimes we see families from the start of their diagnosis. Sometimes it's right in the middle of the treatment, and sometimes it's during survivorship or bereavement. We offer programs all throughout, and you're welcome to join whenever it feels best for you. Our main center is located in Ann Arbor, but we do have in-person programs at Trinity Health Cancer Centers in Brighton, Canton, Chelsea, and Livonia. It's important to note you do not need to have a loved one that is affiliated with these cancer centers, or you do not need to be affiliated with these cancer centers to attend these programs. They are for anyone at any time. And we offer hybrid, virtual, and in-person programs. So whatever fits your needs, we have a program for it. So currently we have about 20 different support groups running at any given time. Some are weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or series-based. For loved ones and caregivers, we offer a family and friend support group that meets every week. We also have social programs as well that meet weekly, and we have monthly social programs. Some of these programs are more seasonal. Like for example, in the fall, we do pumpkin carving, we do member dinners. These are open to anyone at any time. We also do educational workshops. We usually have 2 to 3 topics a month. These are presented by medical professionals within our area. It's a really great way to get your questions answered, especially about specific treatments or side effects. We record all these workshops, so if you're not able to make them live, You can go on our website and watch them at any time. We also have a lending library at our main office in Ann Arbor. You're welcome to come and take any resources that you need. We offer many healthy lifestyle classes every single week. We have gentle exercise, yoga, Zumba, Tai Chi, Pilates, meditation. We do um, Reiki sessions by appointment. We have a monthly cooking class, and some of these classes are recorded as well and can be accessed on our website. These are also open to loved ones, not just patients, and they're completely free. We also have an oncology social work staff. If you need referrals for other services that we don't offer, we can get you pointed in the right direction. And we also offer individual counseling. So this would be under our individual support section. We do short-term oncology counseling, again, completely free. So if you or a loved one are interested in free one-on-one support, you can access that program at any time with one of our counselors. And lastly, we offer practical assistance. So we have a lodging program for patients and caregivers traveling to our service area to receive treatment, and we will pay for your stay. And then we also do financial assistance for basic living expenses for anyone currently or has a loved one currently in active treatment. I've included some additional resources on this slide. There are many more than this, but these are often common ones that come up within our organization. We refer often to Immerman Angels. It is a one-on-one peer matching service. It's nationwide. But what you do is fill out a brief demographic form, just sort of stating this is open to caregivers as well. Um, what cancer diagnosis your loved one has, what treatment they've had, and then what you're looking for in peer support. And they match you within 1 to 2 business days with somebody that also is in a very similar situation. And you're able to sort of coordinate with them um, on a schedule that works best for you and get that support that you need. Ageways has a plethora of different services depending on the area that you're in. I recommend just going on their website and seeing what they offer. Um, but this can be really helpful in navigating some of those practical needs. Similarly, with Jewish Family Services, they service anyone in Washtenaw County. They have respite care. Um, again, going on their website, seeing what is most current and what would be most effective and helpful for your current needs, probably be the most beneficial. And then Gilda's Club, they offer the same services as cancer support communities. In Michigan, there are 2 Gilda's Clubs in Grand Rapids and Metro Detroit. They also offer virtual programming. So if you're not in those areas, but they have maybe an educational workshop or a virtual exercise program that you're interested in attending, their services are also completely free and you're welcome to attend those at any time. And lastly, I just want to take a moment to recognize and reflect on the invaluable work of caregivers. It can often feel like a role you never formally applied for, yet it's one we willingly embrace for the ones that we love. The care and support you're providing for your loved one through their cancer journey is truly meaningful every step of the way. And if no one has taken the time to thank you and remind you of the incredible work you're doing, let me just say you're doing an amazing job. And again, here is my contact information. If you do have any additional questions or need maybe a resource referral or want to get involved in some of our programs, you're more than welcome to contact me at any time. Our website is also listed here, and that has all of our current programs. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Taylor. That was wonderful. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but I do have a couple comments and questions for you. But if anybody has them, please put them in. Um, Firstly, I just want to reflect on, knowing that cancer is so prevalent, but I was still surprised by the statistics 4 in 10 people are going to be diagnosed with cancer sometime in their lifetime. And I know me personally have had loved ones who've been affected or passed from cancer. My grandmother used to volunteer at Gilda's.
Mhm.
So it's something that's, very close to me. Um, why do you think, given that it is so prevalent, why that there is still a gap between people getting the resources that they need or people feeling alone when it is something that is so unfortunately prevalent in our society?
Yeah, this is something that we often talk about in our support groups. I facilitate a few of them. Um, and I think there's a lot of stereotypes around cancer and its treatment. And a lot of people kind of keep that information private. It's not something that um, a lot of people open up about or share right away. So finding those resources often come farther along in their treatment journey. We see more people that have maybe been diagnosed, say, a year ago and are just now reaching out for support and doing that on their own. And it can also feel really overwhelming when you're first diagnosed and you're getting a stack of papers with all these resources when you're just trying to process what's actually happening to you. So it can get sort of pushed to the side and often overlooked.
Yeah, and I think too, I see a lot of parallels with other, chronic health conditions or, seeing here at the work that I do working with caregivers of individuals with dementia. And so I think that there is a lot of overlap in those other areas too about how, people respond to situations and right, have some hesitations about reaching out and getting help and information. So I definitely see that as well. Um, does the cancer support community of Greater Ann Arbor, if you could explain, I know you mentioned that it's research based. So are you involved, like what is your involvement in research and advocacy and that kind of
Mhm.
part of things?
So our headquarters sort of spearheads a lot of the research, and then our affiliate organizations um, offer the programming. So they are involved, you know, year after year with different points of research showing, what is most helpful to cancer patients, piloting new programs, taking that data to see if they're going to be useful and helpful at our level. Um, and then what was the second part of your question? I apologize.
Any advocacy
Yep, so we
efforts?
have a grassroots organization with our headquarters as well. So they're very connected, on Capitol Hill doing that grass work movement there and doing that advocacy to make sure that our programs are relevant and still being disseminated within our affiliate networks.
Wonderful. What about, do you have volunteer opportunities for people if they want to get involved?
We do. We are always looking for new volunteers. We have um, fundraising volunteers. We have tabling volunteers to do outreach. You can get involved simply by welcoming folks at our front desk. We do special project volunteers. You can also reach out to me and I can get you connected with our outreach team who manages our volunteer program. If you're looking for something specific, we're more than happy to kind of get you connected to whatever we need that best fits your needs.
Wonderful. Yes, yes, that was very informative. And I appreciate you sharing some of those, practical, resources and information for people. I have a couple more to add
Mhm.
that I can add to the chat and talk about very briefly. Through the University of Michigan Rogel Cancer Center, they have a lot of information in their resource library. So I've included that here. I can also include the main website to Rogel Cancer Center, where they do a lot of research, outreach, and other programs. So that also may be a good place for people to go. Um, and then more internally here at the Turner Senior Resource Center, we do have a resource guide that is very extensive, that is not specific to cancer, but is specific to older adult programs and services in Washtenaw County. So if someone's looking for in-home care, if they're looking for other resources, if they're looking for housing, Other groups such as the Cancer Support Community of Greater Ann Arbor, depending on what medical condition they may be looking at. We've got lots of info there. So, and we also take phone calls. So if there is anybody who has a question about resources or wants to come into our center, they can do that. I can give the phone number, but I can also say it, 734-998-9353. So please reach out that way. And then lastly, I wanted to mention the Washtenaw Support Network for Caregivers. And so I put the website there. So that is affiliated with one of the programs in our building, which is Silver Club Memory Programs. So it is for caregivers of older adults. So some may have cognitive issues or they may have a medical condition such as cancer, but we provide educational resources, social opportunities and outings, and also partner with Catholic Charities and Jewish Family Services for home care services, for respite. So we just, support caregivers all around. So just wanted to let everybody know that that's also an option in addition to all the great resources that Taylor gave us. So with that being said, Taylor, I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to give us this wonderful information. As I mentioned, this will be recorded and put on the Turner Senior Wellness Program website. So please, if you're watching this now, please share this link with friends and family and help spread the word about these important programs. Taylor, before we go, any last comments?
I just want to thank you for having me today. And for anyone that is watching the recording, please don't hesitate to reach out at any time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thanks, Shannon.
Take care. Bye.